4 fights in the UFC, 4 knockouts. And in his last fight, he slept a former kickboxing world champion in the first round. The fighting nerds have been cooking lately. Caio Borralho, Carlos Prates, Mauricio Ruffi, and of course, the man of the moment,
Jean Silva!
all of them have championship potential. But Jean Silva already looks like the featherweight champion. And it's only a matter of time until he is crowned king. His striking is mesmerizing. His takedown defense is rock solid. And the power he carries, man, it's McGregor-esque. It's Topuria-esque. We haven't seen this kind of power at 145 since Conor. Then Ilya arrived, and now Jean Lord Silva. And after what we saw on Saturday, I think we finally know the reason why Ilya Topuria moved up to lightweight. And it's not because of the weight cut. It's because Jean Silva is the only featherweight who can beat Ilya Topuria. Imagine that fight. Topuria versus Silva for the featherweight title. That fight would have been legendary.
So that is his name. Poe. Finally, a worthy opponent. Our battle will be legendary.
But man, these featherweights just can't seem to catch a break, eh? First, they get Ilya with his dynamite hands, then Diego Lopez, and now the final coming of power, Jean Lord Silva. After his last fight, he did us all a favor and called out Bryce Mitchell. Isn't it poetic how both Topuria and Silva guard Bryce Mitchell? The dude's like a kingmaker. Well, except for Josh Emmett. But that's besides the point. The point is, nobody wants to fight him. He had to move up to lightweight and cook Drew Dober of all people just to get a fight. And someone like Jean Silva is exactly what the UFC needs right now. In this era of stars with Alex and Ilya, the UFC is searching for that next big superstar. Jean Silva might be the answer. He's a character. His walkouts are super intense, his fights are electric, and just look at how his wife hypes him up before he fights. I mean, the aura he carries is insane. This dude dabs you up and then knocks you out. What a guy. I know what some of you are thinking. Alright, bud, relax. He can't be that good. You're glazing. And, I really hate to be the bearer of great news, but he is that good. Sure, his debut was against Weston Wilson, a so-called can, and yes, he did knock him out in the first round, but we gotta put some respect on Wilson's name. Any fighter who makes it to the UFC deserves respect. Wilson! But look at his last 3 fights. First, he fought Charles Jourdain, a UFC veteran and a complete fighter. That was a real test. Jourdain is one of the better unranked fighters. He knocked him out. Then, after his win, he does the usual, gets depressed, calls the UFC in tears, begging them for a fight. They tell him, "Can you fight next week?" He says, "Of course, yes. Thank you, I'll fight next week. Thank you, UFC, thank you. And what happens? He absolutely obliterates Drew Dober. The usual. Then, this past weekend, another knockout. That's 12 wins in a row, 4 fights in the UFC, 4 finishes. Those are some prime Tony Ferguson numbers right there, baby. This guy is just straight aura farming. Jean Silva is literally aura farming. Volkanovski is fighting Diego Lopez for the belt in April. That means the next title defense will probably be in October, November, or December. So if Silva can get 2 top 10 wins before then, or just 1 top 5 win, I believe he could very well be fighting for the belt by the end of the year and finally be crowned king. And I really do see it happening. He's probably going to fight Bryce Mitchell either in May or June. Then he'll probably fight, let's say, Brian Ortega in September. And let's be honest, he's going to knock him out. And then that's 2 wins in the top 10. If Brian is still in the top 5, that would be a top 5 win as well. Let me quickly check if he's in the top 5. Brian Ortega is ranked number 6. Okay, so he's not in the top 5. But Max Holloway is still ranked in the division. which he said himself that he's no longer going to fight in the featherweight division. So basically, Brian Ortega is still ranked in the top 5. So there you have it, your top 5 win. And if it's Volkanovski as champion when Jean Silva challenges for the belt, yeah, I think Silva puts him out. He has too much power. Too much power. Lopez, though, that's probably his toughest fight, simply because of the power and the BJJ. But I don't think Lopez has the striking to keep up with Silva. Even though he has the power to really hurt Silva, I don't think he's skilled enough to actually land on Silva. And Silva also has a lot of power. So if Silva lands, that's over. You know, that fight's over. Personally, I'm a big fan of Volkanovski, and I would love to see him as the champion. But I don't want to see him fight Jean Silva. The fight I think not only me, but all of the fight fans want to see, and even the casuals, is Lopez versus Silva. That fight would be an absolute war. I believe that fight would be remembered as the Battle of Aura. It truly has the potential to win Fight of the Year. That fight needs to happen at the end of the year. Of course, it's going to hurt all of the fans, you know, to see Volkanovski go to sleep again. But if that means we get to see Lopez versus Silva, let it happen. To wrap things up, I'll say this. If you take Volkanovski, Conor, and Topuria with a touch of Brazil and mix it all together, you get none other than Jean Lord Silva. If you like this video, do yourself a favor, subscribe for more videos like this, hit that like button, leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next one.